Spy, Lara!
We have no choice!
I'm not jumping out of this plane!
Come on! Come on!
Alright gamers, you are watching a new video of What You Gaming On, the video series where every episode we start by asking you, the viewer, the listener, the gamer, what are you gaming on? If you want your answer to be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On, let me know in the comments, in my email, or on any of my social media what game you've been playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. Today we've got a new response from Liko Lotad. Once again, Liko, thank you for your continued support. This is why I'm doing these videos, to give other gamers like you the chance and the place to talk about your favorite games, what games you like, what games you don't like, to give you a voice and to talk about these video games that we love so much. So Liko has just finished playing Kirby Planet Robobot and he says, Liko says he just finished playing Kirby Planet Robobot on a whim after chipping away at it a lot during his work break and ended up enjoying a lot more than he thought he would. He says Kirby's Return to Dreamland on the Wii similarly caught him off guard when that came out, and I really enjoyed it as well, but he was kind of let down by Kirby Triple Deluxe, which came after it. Triple Deluxe wasn't a bad game at all, but Return to Dreamland just played super well, and something about Triple Deluxe just fell short of that tight game feel that Kirby's been sorely missing. Planet Robobot felt like both a return to the polished game and level design of Return to Dreamland, while also being a refined evolution of the gimmicks it and Triple Deluxe were building on. It also had a wonderfully balanced 3D effect that was soft on the eyes while still conveying that nice diorama pop that only stereoscopic 3D can deliver. Playing it felt like a vindication of the 3DS's 3D capabilities in the same way A Link Between Worlds and Mario 3D Land did. In fact, he'd put it right behind those games as his number 3 favorite 3DS games and probably favorite Kirby game overall. This is, again, one of those platformers, like, you know, I have played a number of the platformers, but Kirby is not one of them. The only experience I really have with Kirby is from playing Super Smash Brothers, or the entire Super Smash Brothers series, whichever games Kirby was in. Not that I ever played Kirby, because Kirby isn't a character I'm very familiar with. Like, I know about Kirby basically to the extent that he's this big pink ball that sucks up his enemies and then like has the characteristics of those enemies, which, you know, I've seen in Super Smash Brothers where he sucks up Link or Mario and then gets, like, you know, Link's Master Sword and green hat. So Kirby is one of the ones that I don't know a lot about. So maybe I will take you up on this and look up these games. I do still have my 3DS, and maybe I'll look up these games and see if maybe these are some games that I could really get into. Like I've said before, platformers just aren't really my thing. So, you know, playing Kirby was never that high of a priority, but I also know that he's one of those iconic figures that everyone who's played platformers knows about Kirby and has played at least a Kirby game in their life. I'm not one of them. I have not played Kirby, so I know very, 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 very little about it. But thank you, Liko Lotad, for sharing once again what game you're gaming on. Thank you again for your continued support, and for anyone else listening, if you want your answers about what you're gaming on lately, what you like about the game you're playing, what you don't like about it, put them in the comments, and your answer will, I promise you, will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. And the game that I've been gaming on has been probably, you know, again, no surprise, we're definitely in that season where a lot of the big games that we've been waiting on are finally starting to come out. The game I've been playing this week has been Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I was so excited for this game. These action-adventure games, if they're not my favorite, they're definitely one of my favorite types of games. You know, the very treasure-hunting, action-adventure games that are basically the video game versions of Indiana Jones, which I know there are like some older Indiana Jones video games, not including the Lego Indiana Jones. There was an older Indiana Jones game that I didn't play as much of because I didn't think it was that great of a game. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a good while ago. But we don't really have any other Indiana Jones games, and to be honest, we don't have that many Indiana Jones type games where you're, a treasure hunter and you're exploring these lost cities and finding these lost things that may or may not have supernatural elements to them. Really, all we've got is the Tomb Raider series, both the older Tomb Raider games and now the Tomb Raider reboots, and then the Uncharted series, which, Uncharted, definitely one of my top favorite series. The new Tomb Raider reboot series, again, really great game. So I was really excited for this new adventure with Lara Croft. So when I played it, as hyped as I was for this game, as much as I was looking forward to it, I'm loath to say I was just ultimately really disappointed. I just found it to be a really disappointing game, and I'm going to go into why. But first, I do want to give Shadow of the Tomb Raider its due and talk about the things that I thought it did really well. And there's three things that I thought it did. Well, two things I thought it did really well. One of those things that it looks great. It's a beautiful game, but I feel like at this point in 2018, in our current gaming generation, when a game comes out, it's either very, very stylized to look like a specific art style, and it achieves that, or it's very realistic, or as realistic as we can get, and just looks beautiful and looks very intricately detailed between facial emotions and just how these settings look. And that's something that Shadow of the Tomb Raider does really well. You're in Brazil, you're not in Brazil, you're in Peru in South America, and it looks beautiful. The places you're going and climbing look fantastic. But another thing that it does really well is its gameplay. Of the things that I do have issues with in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, one of the things that I don't is the gameplay. Specifically, the gameplay is fantastic, and it's basically the same gameplay we've seen in the Tomb Raider reboot and Rise of the Tomb Raider, which there's no reason it would have diverged diverged is the right word, diverged from that gameplay. It's the same gameplay we've come to know in the past two Tomb Raider reboot games, aside from adding a few extra stealth elements, which I admit I didn't really use that much. I did use them, but I got into the situation where those didn't really work out for me, so I ended up not using stealth as much as just running in there and shooting everybody, unless I really had to do stealth, and of course I did stealth. But I'm definitely more of an action player. But the gameplay was fantastic. It was very well done. It was very balanced. It was good gameplay. The other thing that it does really well is, and this is definitely something that you shouldn't be surprised that I'm going to talk about, is the outfits. The past Tomb Raider reboot games have had various different outfits. Some were just kind of randomly made for, or specifically made for their games, while others were kind of homages to past adventures of Lara Croft. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider is no different. It has its specifically made outfits that are very specific to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and it actually goes a step further and actually gives you a little bit more control over the customization, in that you can choose the tops and bottom. You can both craft and then choose the tops and bottoms that Lara can wear over her basic Tomb Raider outfit. You'll have like the basic default game Tomb Raider outfit that is very reminiscent of past Tomb Raider, of past Lara Croft. It's the blue tank top, and then not short booty shorts, but these just very like tannish brown cargo pants. That the color scheme is very reminiscent of past Lara Croft. But on top of that, you can add different furs from animals you killed, which most of them are leopard print, which I didn't love, but it was nice to have the option to change different looks. And then it also had just your basic cosmetic outfits that were specifically made for this game. But on top of that, it gave the option to wear outfits from the past games. And I'm not just talking about the past outfits from Tomb Raider Reboot and Rise of the Tomb Raider. They did give you the options to wear Laura's past outfits from the Tomb Raider Reboot series. You got to wear a lot of the outfits she wore in Russia in Rise of the Tomb Raider. You got to wear the very cut up and very well traveled look of Laura with her blue tank top and brown cargo pants that she wore in Tomb Raider Reboot, the first Tomb Raider Reboot. But it goes even a step further, and it gives you the option, it gives you like 2 or 3 options to wear the outfits of well past Tomb Raider games like Tomb Raider Underworld and Tomb Raider 2. And I'm not just talking about the clothing options to wear just whatever outfit she was wearing in Tomb Raider Underworld, but it's still the Shadow of the Tomb Raider Lara Croft model. No, it the past outfits changed Laura's model to look like she did in those past games. And even the Tomb Raider Reboot, it's very noticeable that Laura's face kind of changes a little bit from Tomb Raider Reboot to Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So when you're wearing the Tomb Raider Reboot outfit, she looks like she did in the Tomb Raider Reboot, just like you get the old, very like low graphic quality looks of Lara Croft from Lara Croft Underworld and Tomb Raider Underworld and Tomb Raider 2, like full-on pixelated triangle boobed Lara Croft. I think this is not only awesome but hysterical. Like it looks so, like it looks both cool and funny because like it very much feeds into nostalgia, like as you get to see the older models of Lara Croft and you could play the full game as older models, low quality models of Lara Croft. Like it doesn't fit well because it's this low modeled character and then just these very beautifully intricately detailed characters and settings, but it fades up that nostalgia. So I think that was just a really cool thing that Square Enix added to this game as kind of a just a callback to past adventures of Lara Croft. I thought that was just a really cool thing. But to segue into what I was really disappointed about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, also begins with the outfits. As many outfit options as Shadow of the Tomb Raider gives you, there is a sequence in the game that it felt like it took up half the game, but that might just be exaggerating, but probably a good third of the game, where you're in this ancient city that Laura discovers, and in order to do the missions and talk to the citizens of this ancient city and get side quests and talk to the people you need to talk to in these side quests, you have to wear a very specific outfit that they give you, or you can't talk to them, which means you can't continue into the rest of the game. And it that was just really frustrating. Like, it kept waiting. It was like, give me back the option to wear the outfit that I want to wear. Don't make me wear this outfit for such a long period of time. Like, it felt like they gave us these great options of outfits to wear and then didn't let us wear them for a whole third of the game. Like, that was just annoying. Another annoyance was, and I'm going to admit that maybe this wasn't specific to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, maybe this was just specific to my Xbox, but it's the only time, or rather one of the only times that I've experienced this in a game on my Xbox, is the amount of crashes I had in this game. I had a good handful of game crashes, the last one being as I was beating the game. Like, I was right about to beat the game and the game crashed, and I had to go back and redo that sequence because it didn't save up, and which, you know, I ultimately did. Like, it wasn't a problem to redo it. It was just really frustrating, especially when I was literally at the very end of the game. I was literally about to beat it, and boom, the game crashes. And I had to redo that part. So that was just an annoyance. But ultimately, the thing that I was most disappointed about was the story. This was the big culmination of the past two Lara Croft Tomb Raider games. the past the past experiences that Lara Croft has undergone, the changes she's undergone, the things she's learned to ultimately step into the role of Tomb Raider. And that was something that they really hyped up leading up to the release of this game, is that, Laura's gone through these changes. She's become a much more cold and distant person. She's a lot more violent. She's a lot more prone to jumping headfirst in the situation to stop Trinity. And, that was the big thing of this story, is that because of Laura's kind of new attitude of just very cold and distant and just doing whatever she could to get it done, causes the big catastrophe of this game. And that is something that happens in the game, that Lara literally does something without thinking just to stop Trinity from doing it first, and triggers this Mayan apocalypse. Well, I don't know if it's specifically Mayan, but she triggers this apocalypse that she then has to go about fixing it. But even then, the apocalypse, there was just no real urgency or connection to it. And I felt that way about the entire game. Every character I met, the villain, I felt no real connection. I didn't feel like, oh, I've got to kill this guy, I've got to stop this guy. I was like, I've got to stop this guy because that's how you go forward in the game. Not because I didn't like, or I liked or didn't like this character. And, I will say that the character of the villain, Dr. Dominguez, that you meet, who is the leader of Trinity. I don't know if the leader of Trinity or just in this game the leader of Trinity. He was definitely a much more layered character than we've seen before. Not that the past characters in the Tomb Raider reboot series have been one-dimensional, but he definitely has more, in the Tomb Raider reboot you had Father Matthias, who he wasn't doing it because he wasn't doing the things he was doing because he was necessarily evil. He was doing it because that was the only way for him to get freed from this island that he'd been trapped on for decades. And then Constantine and Anna, they were doing it to heal Anna of her lung cancer and ultimately be the warrior of God and Trinity. In this one, Dr. Dominguez is, I wouldn't say he's necessarily a quote-unquote bad guy, but he's definitely a bad guy. His motivations for doing what he's doing is to protect his people, and you can understand what he's doing, but his methods are definitely bad. He's kind of like Killmonger in Black Panther. His motivations are correct, but his methods are the things that make him the bad guy. And that's definitely true for Dr. Dominguez, but even him, you only meet him a few times, and I don't feel like I have to defeat this guy. It's just kind of okay, he's there to be defeated, and that's why we're going to defeat him, but there's no other driving force. There's no, oh, you killed Jonah, or you killed this person, or you did this. I have to stop you because, of revenge. There just wasn't a lot of personal investment in the game. I didn't care about any of the events or the characters in this game. And sure, you could argue that that's because it's simulating Laura's own distance from the things that are going on and from the people she's meeting, but I think that's bullshit. I think that's like saying that the reason that Moby Dick is so boring and full of boring whale facts is to simulate the obsession and boredom of whale hunting, but that's bullshit. That's something that we can say, 200 years after the fact of describing Moby Dick, but that's not the actual reason it's there. So I felt no personal connection, and it was also a lot shorter. Or at least it felt a lot shorter than the past Tomb Raider games, where there was just no real urgency. There was no real personal motivation to continue the game and continue the fight, aside from the fact of I wanted to finish the game and, finish what story there was that was there. But what was there was just disappointing and just left a lot to be desired. which really sucks. Again, this was a game I was really, really looking forward to. You know, I love these kinds of games. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist, and now, you know, I'm obviously not an archaeologist, unfortunately, but I still like have that interest, and playing these games kind of scratches that itch just a little bit. And then, you know, getting so excited for Shadow of the Tomb Raider to just ultimately be disappointed. There wasn't even a lot of investigation into this artifact that you're looking for. In the Tomb Raider reboot and Rise of the Tomb Raider, there does come a point where you just accept that this artifact you're looking for is supernatural, and you don't understand it, but leading up to it, you're trying to figure out, you're learning the history of it, you're learning, like, at least parts of what makes it work. But this one, it was literally a magic box that was magic because they said so. So, just walking away from this game, beating this game, it was just disappointing. And that in itself, like, the fact that I was disappointed with this game was disappointing. But that was my experience with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's how I felt about it. It was just ultimately disappointed. The gameplay was fine. The gameplay itself was fine. But ultimately, everything else about it, it was just really, really disappointing. But now I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you, other gamers. What are your thoughts on Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you agree that it was a disappointing entry into the Tomb Raider reboot series? Hopefully this won't be the end of Lara Croft. Hopefully we will see future Lara Croft Tomb Raider entries like Tomb Raider 4 and Tomb Raider 5 and Tomb Raider 6, where we're seeing Lara really step into the role of the Tomb Raider. But until then, we're left with two really good games, with a trilogy of two really good games, and then one incredibly lackluster culmination of those two games that just left me very disappointed. So let me know what you think in the comments. What'd you like about it? What you didn't like about it? And remember that if you want your answer to be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On, let me know the game you're playing, whether it's Shadow of the Tomb Raider or some other game. Let me know in the comments, in my email, or in any of my social media, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. If you want to read any of my reviews of video games, Marvel TV shows, or Marvel movies, go to TreyGuillotine.com and share this video around so others can join in the conversation, and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Keep on gaming, gamers. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.